Chad, let me ask you, what was your first RC toy?
That's easy. Actually, oh, I was hoping I could run up and get it, but I think I may have just thrown it away. It was
No.
Yeah, it was an Air Hogs little foam jet from Walmart.
Wow. So that was your first RC toy. So you didn't play with RC very much when you were young then.
No, I always had an interest in high school and in my younger years, but it was so unapproachable. I didn't have the money. Now, if you want to say RC toy in general, I had a radio control car, um, but that was back in the '80s. It was a Tyco
Oh
dune
yeah.
buggy, and it was fast. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, and I remember I ended up breaking it because I would jump it and drive it all over the place. And a friend of mine was an RC snob, and he had the Grasshopper, and it was the high end stuff. It cost hundreds of dollars. I think mine cost like $49. Um, and he was always this snob that was like, no, that's not serious. And when I broke it, like, he was resentful. Like, he didn't want to help me fix it because it was plastic garbage from Japan. I think that's what he said. and and I remember it was so frustrating. I'm like, he wouldn't help me fix my car because he thought the only way to get into it is this high end stuff that you had to build yourself. So that kind of soured me on it for quite a few years, and then I went through the rest of my adolescence, and then went through working in my early years, and got married and all of that. And then eventually, after my son was born, and Christian was probably, he's 18 now. This would have been 2009 that I got into it. So he would have been like 11 or 12 years old. And we got these Air Hogs jets because I figured, well, I'd like to do something fun with my son. And they were a blast. And we played with those till we just destroyed them. And I think we bought another set and destroyed those. And then that led to, I want you to guess what the next model was I got.
The next model you got after that, was it another air hog?
No, it was a EDF jet.
Oh wow.
I was that guy. I was the one that got this EDF F-16. Was it yeah, it was an F-16. It was the cheaper foam. It wasn't when they had the EPO or EPP. It was what's that, EPS foam. And I took it out and destroyed it. I don't think it ever really flew. I think it pretty much just went out and became styrofoam dust. And that was a little disheartening. So after that, and trust me, I was sick to my stomach. I mean, it was a cheap, probably $150 ready to fly package. But still, I was just like, I couldn't believe $150 just went down the drain in like 30 seconds. And so at that point, I thought, okay, I'm going to learn, a little bit cheaper. So I ended up getting a J3 Cub, which is the complete opposite end of the spectrum.
Total trainer.
Oh yeah. And this was, again, it was another cheap one. Actually, it might have been Hobbyco. I still do have that one. And I flew that, repaired it, flew it, repaired it, and I learned a lot from that. And then I went to an E-flite. Oh, it's not down here. I keep wanting to grab these aircraft. I had an E-flite mini ultra stick, which was balsa and monocoque covered, and that was probably the best experience that I had, because one thing I don't like about trainers is they're hard to fly. I mean, they're actually harder to fly than that ultra stick. It's just that they're slower, and and they somewhat will self-correct, but not the ultra stick, but the J3 Cub. But I would say it wasn't until I got the simulator that made a huge difference. When I got on there and I spent all weekend learning on the simulator, I went back out and I crashed a lot less. But that's that's kind of my little path there, just before starting flight test.
Wow. So you went from 1 with the air hogs, cranked it up to 11 with the jet, and then scaled it down back to about 5.
Yeah, back to about a 3, and then back up to a 7. So the mini Ultra Stick, how I built it, it was a rocket. I don't remember the exact motor I had on it, but it was just, it flew so fast you could hear the monocoque like going like vibrating.
Oh yeah, you could hear it just thrumming like a drum.
Oh yeah, it was crazy.
After high school, did you go to college?
No, I went straight into the Marine Corps.
Was it a matter of finances or was it a matter of personal choice?
Well, it was my dad and my stepdad both were in the military. My dad was in the Marine Corps, my stepdad was in the Army, and they both did time in Vietnam. And I just felt like it was my duty to do my part. But I knew I wasn't a lifer. I knew I wasn't going to stay in forever. So it was during Desert Storm, and I knew that if I joined the reserves, they would just send, whoever needed to go whenever it needed to happen. And then I figured I would join and do a stint and be done. And at least I would never regret it. Fortunately, because I joined as a reservist, once I got through boot camp, MCT at the time, and then infantry training, which took a total of 7.5 months because I had to spend an extra 6 weeks there because I had fractured my foot right before graduation, so they don't let you actually leave until you heal completely. So after 7.5 months of training, they stopped sending people. So I just did reserve duty for the next 4 years.
So did you actually go over to the sandbox?
No, I didn't have to. I did do border patrol on the Mexican border. I spent some time in 29 Palms. Oop, hold on, let me fix this.
That's all right.
So yeah, I spent some time in 29 Palms, Bridgeport, California, up in the mountains. Did some cold weather, and I was assigned to a scout sniper platoon in Cleveland, and I was a scout and learned to shoot and enjoyed my time.
I saw in your bio that you spent some time out in LA. What did you do out there?
Well, I've been back and forth to LA for the past 20 years. I always wanted to be a filmmaker. Always wanted to live and work in LA. My first stint out there was my wife and I got married in 1995, and immediately after our wedding moved out to Los Angeles. She was 19, I was 22, and that lasted about a year. And I did, when I was out there, I did custom audio video design, like home theater systems and surround sound and, stuff like that. And my wife just did not like it out there. She's like, this isn't where I want to be. And if we have children, this is not where I want to raise them. And, and I understood. I was like, well, we both got to be happy. So we moved back to Ohio, and that was around the time I was actually not sure what to do when we moved back. So I ended up managing a paintball store for a friend of mine. And while I was there, I was able to have enough time to teach myself computer animation, like 3D animation. And I was able to use that to get some work on the side or additionally, and eventually just turn that into my own business.
Beautiful. Self-made man.
Yeah. So the time in LA after that was more either video production or filmmaking. I've done a lot of work from every level, from production assistant to script doctoring to assistant directing to producing to shooting, just about everything.
I noticed that by looking on IMDb. I said, holy crap, Chad Kapper's on IMDb.
Oh yeah. There's and actually probably 75% of the things I've done aren't even on there because they were just little things here and there where I'd help, either friends or I'd volunteer to work on projects just to learn more. Yeah, so I've always had a love and a passion for filmmaking.
And you've done everything from shorts to feature-length movies. You've covered a really large spectrum, without a doubt. Let me ask you,
Yeah,
Chad, what was your favorite project?
Mm, I mean, I have a lot of favorites depending on the approach. Like probably my favorite project personally would be Rotor DR1. I mean, my son and I got to make a feature film together that we're both very proud of. Now, it's not a commercial or a, what do you want to say, like a mainstream success, but it has a niche crowd and it's doing well, with those of us that collaborated to make it. So that's definitely my favorite. I guess next in line, I had a feature film that I did for a Christian film company called Sarah's Choice, which, they wanted to do a pro-life film from a Christian perspective, and I was able to. My goal on that was to make a quality Christian film. That sounds horrible, but there's not a lot of quality Christian films. So
the passion is there, but the production value is not. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen quite a few of the films, and that's definitely it. And I can understand your mindset behind that because you look at the films and they have a great message, but the delivery method might not necessarily be the most polished. And
and even if they're able to get over that hurdle of the delivery method, oftentimes they become very judgmental and preachy. And I absolutely, if anybody knows me, that's not my style. I believe I don't know any better than the next person. I think we have something to learn from everyone. Nobody individually has, the ultimate truth. I think we have to, that's the point of community. So I wanted to make sure that I carried that approach into it and, really looked at that topic from all sides because no topic is one-sided, obviously. So we were able to do that, and it was actually a success on a lot of levels. It sold well. The audience received it well. It did the job that it was intended to do, to be a good film that caused discussion in a difficult topic. And so I'm very proud of it for, I guess, more purposeful meaning, but creatively, if you want to go like visually, I think one of the films that I was most impressed with was a friend of mine. His name's Mark Whiting. He was the production designer for The Iron Giant. And he did a short film called Applejack, and it is a beautiful, beautiful film. And I don't even know if people will be able to find it. I have a personal copy, but it might be out there somewhere. But it's like 15 minutes long. I was brought in to do some visual effects on it, but I ended up doing a lot. I did one of the first edits. I helped on the shoot days. I did a lot, but mostly I was able to learn a lot from Mark and his visual style and how he approached things. So that one I'm very proud of and proud to be associated with because it's just a beautiful work of art.
And you also got a chance, for us older guys, we know this name very well. You got to work with Dick Van Patten.
Oh yeah, that was on Sarah's Choice, and that was a huge moment for me because I used to watch 8 is Enough when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
And, to be able to work with somebody like that, and he was so kind and friendly. Like he's just one of the nicest guys you could meet. And unfortunately he passed away. I think it was just this past year. Seems recent, but I think it was last year. And it's always sad.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you, you've also done stuff overseas as well. I was looking through your history. I noticed that you spent 2 weeks shooting a documentary in Cambodia.
Yes,
Was
that
that,
one
what,
was actually that never got finished. All that ended up coming from that was a promo film for a mission team that funded the trip. Well, they organized the trip, and they great people. Pastor Ariel was the primary contact that helped us out over there and hosted us. And I have to tell you, he was a true inspiration. He is one man on this earth that I saw just love people for who they are, and no judgment, just wanting to help any way possible, and no matter where these people came from or what they believed or whatever, he just showed them all an equal amount of love, and it was just very inspiring. So he has truly helped shape the person that I am. So when I say all that came out of it, was that promo, there was a lot that came out of it. But unfortunately, I have 2 weeks of footage in the can that have never got put together for anything really.
well, that's the best part about film. They can be brought together at a later time.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe it will reemerge.
Absolutely.
There was a project that I wanted to develop, and I don't know if you'd stumbled across that at all, but it was called Long. There's a little boy. It was very ironic. His name is Long. Of course, it doesn't translate to the same thing, but he was very he's very short. I forget what his height was, but he just had the biggest heart, and he was such a great kid. And I wanted to do this very non-traditional film to where we followed him more like a documentary, but actually, staged scenarios and situations to make a fictional film, but using 80% of real people and real situations, but then to tell a fictional story. Unfortunately, we never quite got it off the ground, but that's definitely I have a passion for real people.
On behalf of the flight crew, thank you for flying with us and have a pleasant day.